I think Tampa will take both games in Tampa to start the series, and then Montreal will win 2 games in Montreal. But then Tampa will win the next one, and then Montreal will win the last two. Uh, I think Montreal will do the same thing the Bruins did. They'll lose all their games on the road until the last one, the one that matters, happens, and they'll take home the cup. What are your predictions?
Suns have the best backcourt duo.
Yeah, so we've already talked about Burrow a lot, especially how he's influenced the Bengals organization to do some questionable things.
A great job from the Islanders to rebound off that and force a Game 7 with Belavie's game-winning goal in overtime in Game 6.
We don't talk about the 2010s because the 2010s had the Astros, and if the Astros didn't happen, the Yankees would have won in 2017 over the Dodgers.
I'm going to say it's during the Week 17 game after the Cowboys have clinched the division, so we just put Benanucci in.
Vegas was really outplayed the last 3 games of this series, and they did not seem like they wanted it as much as Montreal did.
And then the Oilers versus the Jets. Jets haven't been playing well. Oilers, you got a great offense with Connor McDavid. So I have them sweeping them.
Yeah, well, I don't think you heard my point. The San Francisco Giants have 3 more in the 2010s than the Rangers have in their entire history. So, yeah.
It's hard to get back and to get back-to-back wins. And I don't see the Lightning doing it here, so I have them losing to the Hurricanes in 6.
DeAndre Ayton, I think, will step up in this series and shut down Jokic enough for this to work out for them.
He was close to Frank Reich, and they want Frank Reich back, so that's what they got. It's their discount Frank Reich in Eagles' eyes.
Kaprizov and the rest of this crew, Jordan Greenway, who doesn't get enough props, he definitely is somebody who needs to be mentioned more.
What would you have said if I bet you $100 at the end of the round robin and start of the playoffs that the Stars would be in the Stanley Cup playoffs? Or Stanley Cup finals.
Hi, this is Julie Dobbs. You're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? It is finally the day for our NHL predictions for this regular season, and then we've added on postseason as well. So a lot of points can be earned, and a lot of points can be missed. So 1 point for predicting the right place for each team in the regular season, 2 points for the number of Stanley Cup games, if we got that correct, 3 points for the Conn Smythe winner, 4 points for the first round winner, 5 points for second round winners, 6 points for conference final winners, and then 7 points for the Stanley Cup winner. So could go really well, or we can miss a lot. So let's just start with the Atlantic Division, Austin. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so really, I mean, if somebody goes 32 for 32 in the regular season and gets a point for each, they've almost clinched it. It doesn't really matter what happens in the postseason because you only get 7 points for the Stanley Cup winner. You get more points for predicting the 2 teams that make it, really, because you get 12 because you get 6 for one conference final winner and 6 for the other. But yeah. Let's start off with the Atlantic. I'll go Atlantic, you go Atlantic, and then we'll keep on going. Do you have anything else to add?
Well, yeah, just like 32 for 32 would be great, but we have to put this in the context of our predictions, where it's very hit or miss. Either.
Well, I think that's mainly, especially in my case, I know a lot about the sport. However, I like to be very, very risky. I know sports can be unpredictable, so I'm going. I'm going all out, and I'm ready to ride or die with these predictions. Are you ready to go?
Yes, I'm ready to go. I just wanted to put that in before we got started.
Got it. So let's start off with the Atlantic, then you go Atlantic, and then we'll move on further. I have Florida at number 1, Toronto at number 2, Tampa at number 3, Boston at number 4, Ottawa at number 5, Detroit at number 6, Montreal at number 7, and Buffalo at number 8. What about you?
Wow, you and I actually kind of agree on most of them. I have Florida at number 1, Toronto at number 2. I have Boston at 3, and I have Tampa Bay at 4. And then I have Detroit at 5. 6 is Montreal, 7 Ottawa, and then 8 Buffalo. Yeah, for Tampa Bay, I think losing the depth, that's why I kind of might have 4. And then Boston, I'm worried about the goalie situation. Like I know they do like Swayman
That's
and
what
Olmark.
pushed Tampa over for me is that Vasilevsky is better than Olmark plus Swayman.
Yeah, and then Florida is just number one because they
They're
didn't
good.
lose anyone and they added Reinhardt. They'll get Ekblad back. And then Toronto, I just have at number two because they're a good regular season team.
Yeah.
They're a great regular season team. We'll see how they do in the playoffs.
Yep. Now let's move on to the Metropolitan. I have Islanders at number 1, Carolina at number 2, Pittsburgh at number 3, Rangers at number 4, Washington at number 5, Philadelphia at number 6, Columbus at 7, New Jersey at 8.
I was not expecting you and I to agree on the Islanders at 1. I thought that was going to be a way too shock. I have Islanders at 1. I have Pittsburgh at 2, Carolina at 3, Rangers at 4,
Wow, we're really
Washington.
consistently. Yeah.
What?
Well, we're basically picking the same. You keep going.
And then I got Washington at 5, Columbus at 6, Philadelphia at 7, and then Devils at 8.
Wow, that's really really close. We're not venturing far off the path. Now on to Central. By the way, guys, we did not look at each other's predictions. He's on a separate doc, and I'm on a piece of paper. So, wow, we'll see how the West goes. So number 1 in the Central, I have Colorado. Then I have Minnesota. Then I have St. Louis. Then I have Chicago. Then I have Dallas, Winnipeg, Nashville, Arizona.
Interesting. I have Colorado at 1, Chicago at 2, Dallas at 3, Minnesota at 4, St. Louis at 5, Nashville at 6, Winnipeg at 7, and Arizona at 8. So
Got
now
it?
you and I are starting to differ.
Yeah, and I'm sort of interested on this one too, but I feel like we'll be pretty close. For the Pacific, I have Edmonton at 1, Vegas at 2, Seattle at 3, LA at 4, San Jose at 5, Calgary 6, Vancouver 7, and Anaheim 8.
Interesting. Yeah. You and I agree, I think, with 3. Edmonton 1, Vegas 2, Seattle 3, Calgary 4. I have Vancouver at 5, Kings at 6, Anaheim at 7, and then the Sharks are at 8.
Wow. Okay. So now we can move on to the playoffs. Before we do the playoffs, let us mention the teams that we have in the East. So at East, the number 1 seed, the team that has the most wins in my bracket is Florida. So it's going to be Florida. In the Atlantic, the teams that make it are Florida, Toronto, Tampa, Boston, and the Metropolitan. It is Islanders, Carolina, Pittsburgh, Rangers. What does your East look like, and who's your number 1?
So my number 1 is the Islanders. I have Islanders. They make it, and then so Metropolitan, Islanders, Pittsburgh, Carolina, Rangers. Atlantic is Florida, Toronto, Boston, Tampa Bay.
Got it. Okay, so let's go into the first round of the East, and then we'll go through the entire Eastern Conference, and then go to the Western Conference for the playoffs. So my first series is Florida versus the Rangers. I have Florida winning. The next series would be Toronto versus Tampa Bay. I have Tampa Bay winning. The next series would be Islanders versus Boston. I have Boston winning, and next would be Carolina versus Pittsburgh. I have Carolina winning.
Okay, so I have Florida versus Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay wins. Then I have Toronto versus Boston. I have Boston winning that. Then I have Islanders versus Rangers. Low New York matchup in there. I have Islanders beating the Rangers, and then I have Pittsburgh versus Carolina, and I have Pittsburgh winning. And the
That's
main,
interesting because
yeah,
you. Sorry to interrupt, but you also have 2 Florida matchups. You have a Florida matchup. You
I
have
do have a
Florida
Florida
versus
matchup.
Tampa, and New York versus New York. What were you saying?
Well, and then the key thing I just saw with Pittsburgh and Carolina, and I kind of put Pittsburgh over Carolina, is they both kind of have goalie issues, starting goalie issues. Like you have Jari, and then you have the entirely new tandem with Carolina. So I give the edge to Pittsburgh in that playoff matchup.
And in
Because
the regular season.
yeah,
Got it.
because of more than their offense, and then I think Jari does better because he's been with Pittsburgh before. These are entirely new goalies for Carolina. So
Got
that
it.
just give me the little edge. I'm surprised you have Minnesota so high. Or maybe that shouldn't surprise me.
Probably shouldn't, considering the fact that I had Vegas losing to them in the first round last year. But now we can move on to the second round of the East. It's Florida versus Tampa. I had Tampa winning. We both had that Florida matchup, but I have it coming in the second round. And next is Carolina versus Boston, a rematch of 2019 Eastern Conference Final, and I have Boston winning that. So Tampa and Boston move on. What about you?
Okay, so I have Tampa versus Boston. I have Tampa winning that. And then I have Islanders versus Pittsburgh, and I have the Islanders winning that matchup as well.
A lot of rematches we see from this year when Tampa,
Yes.
yeah, a lot of rematches. Next, Tampa versus Boston for me in the Eastern Conference Finals. I kind of hinted at this in the past a billion NHL episodes we've done, especially the ones recently, that I said that Tampa is going to three-peat, and that continues in my prediction where I have Tampa beating Boston.
Well, yeah, and then I have part 3 of Tampa Bay versus Islanders. But I've also hinted I think the Islanders are going to win this matchup. So I have the Islanders winning. I
Got
think
it.
Barry Trotz finally gets through that conference finals.
Yeah,
Conference finals to the Stanley Cup with
got it.
his new team.
Well, I think an interesting fact about that is that he went to the conference finals, obviously, with Washington in 2018. He went to the second round in 2019 with New York, but now he's been to conference finals 3 of the last 4 years, and that would be 4 out of the last 5. It kind of shows how good of a coach Barry Trotz is, even though he switched franchises.
Yeah.
But now we can move on to the West. The 8 teams I have. So the number 1 seed I have is Colorado. And then in the Central, I have Colorado, Minnesota, St. Louis, Chicago, and Dallas all making the playoffs. And then I have Edmonton, Vegas, and Seattle in the Pacific making it.
Okay, interesting. And Colorado is my number 1 as well. I have Colorado, Chicago, Dallas, Minnesota, Edmonton, Vegas, Seattle, Calgary.
Interesting.
I was very tempted to put St. Louis, but I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen with Tarasenko. So I gave the edge to Calgary.
I could see Tarasenko being traded to Buffalo for Jack Eichel. I could see that being a very
Ooh,
interesting trade.
interesting.
Very
That is
interesting
interesting.
trade. We'll see, though.
Well, yeah, because Tarasenko, of course, would help the Blues, but we don't know when he's going to get traded. So that's why I just give the edge to Calgary because they also have Coleman, and I think they'll just sneak in.
Yeah, that's why I have St. Louis so high. I think is that if that trade, which I predict happening, happens, I feel like St. Louis would be very, very good. But let's move on to the first round. The first series would be Colorado versus Dallas, where I have Colorado winning. That's the rematch of the second round back in 2020. The 2020 season, which was
Wouldn't it be 2019 season?
no 1920.
Oh,
2020
okay.
season because
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what do you call last season?
the 2021. It ended in 2021.
Oh, okay. And then this one's the 22 season. Okay.
Yeah, it's 21-22, but I always say the playoffs. It's a rematch of the
Gotcha.
20. It's the rematch of the 2020
Well, yeah.
second round. But yeah, Colorado wins that series. Next would be Minnesota versus St. Louis, and I have Minnesota winning. Next is Edmonton versus Chicago. I have Chicago winning. And then last, Vegas versus Seattle. Seattle winning.
Okay, you and I agree on one of the same playoff matchups with Vegas and Seattle. I have
Got it.
Colorado versus Calgary, and then Chicago versus Dallas.
You never said who won.
Yeah,
Who-
Colorado beats Calgary. Dallas
it.
beats Chicago. Then Edmonton versus Minnesota. I go with the upset. Minnesota wins, and then I have Vegas versus Seattle. Seattle winning that matchup.
Wow. Next for me, second round, Colorado versus Minnesota. I have Minnesota winning. And then Chicago versus Seattle. I have Chicago winning.
Interesting. I actually have a second round matchup that you were talking about before. I have Colorado versus Dallas, but I give Colorado the edge here over Dallas. And then Minnesota versus Seattle, I go with Seattle. The main thing that is pushing Seattle for me is Grubauer and Drieger.
I
That goalie
understand.
tandem.
Yep.
Because that's what's happened the past 2 years. One team, whoever has faced the Tampa Bay has had a great goalie take them there, and then Tampa Bay has great offense with Vasilevsky. So
A goalie gets hot during the playoffs, whether it be an established goalie like Price or a not necessarily regular season established, but great playoff goaltender in Hudobin. Yeah, you need great goaltending to make it there. My Western Conference Finals is Minnesota versus Chicago, and I have Chicago winning.
Interesting. I have Seattle versus Colorado. I have Seattle winning. It's a Grubauer versus his former team. So
Wow. Wow. So the Stanley Cup Final for me is a rematch of the 2015 Stanley Cup Final between Tampa and Chicago, where Chicago won that series in 6. I have Tampa winning this one in 6. Revenging that loss, winning 3 straight, and the Conn Smythe winner being Andrei Vasilevsky.
interesting. Wasn't Ben Bishop with that 2015 Lightning team?
Yes, he was.
Okay, gotcha.
Good job, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you. I was surprised. I was wondering. I bet he's surprised I remembered that. The points is not going to help us because you and I both agree. I have it going 6 games. So I have Seattle versus the Islanders. I have Seattle winning in 6. And then I have the Conn Smythe.
Conn Smythe.
Conn Smythe is Chris Drieger. I think they rely on him more.
We both have
than
a
Grubauer.
goaltender
We both
winning the Conn Smythe.
You'd have Vasilevsky's second one because the first one for Tampa Bay was, I think, Blake Coleman, right?
No, the first one was Victor Hedman, I believe. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's who it is. Yeah, it is Victor Hedman's the defense. Yeah. Okay, so interesting. So you have Tampa Bay winning once again, which isn't a surprise because you've been saying that they're going to three-peat. And then I have Seattle doing what Vegas could not in their first year, and that's win the Stanley Cup. So that concludes it. Let us know what you think of our predictions, because I'm surprised you and I actually agreed most of the time.
To the extent we did, yeah. I thought you were not going to have certain teams making it, but you did. I'm surprised we both had the Rangers making it. I feel like I was going to get you on that one, and I didn't. You also believe the Rangers were going to make it.
Well, yeah, because they came so close last year, and I think they have some great young talent, even though Ryan Reeves just got injured for the
Well, he
Rangers.
should only be out for like 2 weeks apparently, even though it was a gruesome, or it looked gruesome. Apparently, it's not as bad as we all assumed. He may be back by the start of the season.
Yeah, and then I would have thought before the episode we would have only one number 1 in common, and that was probably going to be Colorado. I did not expect. We agreed on all the number 1 teams.
we did. We yeah, we had Florida, Islanders, Colorado, Edmonton. We had all of them. I think we had 2 second place teams, right? We both had Toronto and we both had Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Pacific we had the first 3.
Yeah, and then you and I totally disagree on the bottom half of that.
Yeah.
The Metropolitan, I like this bottom because I like Columbus, Washington, of course, Philadelphia. I just thought they would have down here. That's why I'm lower. And then you have the Devils. So it's just so many good teams in that bottom, or so many promising teams.
Yeah, there's a lot to look at. I'm interested to see how my predictions do. Our predictions were much more in common than I thought, but we don't even have the same teams making it to the finals on either side. So that's where the points I think are going to be made. Can either of us get at least one team correct? If Tampa or Chicago for me, or Seattle or Islanders for you, it kind of gives it a better chance of one of us getting it right, because we have 4 chances to get one team. So I think when we get to the end, it's going to look a lot more lopsided than it probably should have been because of the conference finals and stuff like that. But I'm surprised you have Seattle winning it all. I just don't think Seattle versus Chicago would be a good matchup for Seattle. I think you have Seattle versus who?
I have Seattle versus Colorado.
I'm talking about
Seattle.
No, I'm talking about in the second round.
In the second round, it's versus Minnesota.
Got it. That's a close one.
Yeah,
I'm
they
Minnesota.
wouldn't face Chicago.
Do you have
because I
Chicago
have
losing
Dallas
in the
beating
first round?
Chicago. Yeah, I have Chicago losing in the first round to Dallas, which I am a little biased on that,
Well, I mean, we'll
but
see. We will see.
we'll see. We'll see. Because the Chicago, of course, would have Fleury. In my fantasy, I don't see anything happening to Fleury, but I just feel Dallas will do well.
And Dallas has one of 4 of the goaltenders starting.
Yes, most
Bishop,
likely,
Ottinger, Holtby, or Hudobin.
most likely Ottinger. I think Bishop is gonna. I don't think Bishop plays.
I
Have I
don't think
said
it's
that?
Ottinger.
I think the Stars are gonna ride Ottinger.
Holtby has won a Stanley Cup, and Hudobin's already taken you guys 2-1. I'd be surprised if you guys turned to Ottinger.
I think maybe during the regular season we'll see what happens. I don't think Bishop plays. Have I said that? I don't think he plays this season.
I don't know. It's gonna be. I don't know. He's been a question mark for the last two seasons, 1 year.
1 year.
1 year, but 2 seasons.
So a year and a half.
No, it's 1 year. Like the Stanley Cup would have just happened like 2 weeks ago.
I'm trying to think. That was a year ago.
It's 1 year. It seems like longer, but it's 1 year.
I know.
It's 2
seasons.
2 seasons, 1 year.
Okay. Well, let us know what you think about our NHL predictions. We will have to review our MLB predictions soon.
We'll do that after the playoffs.
Well, yeah, after. Yeah, by the way, we've probably. Austin and I have talked to each other at least every single day, and we've recorded an episode minus 1 day because of the MLB playoffs. So make sure to check out all those MLB episodes. So
yeah, there were 4 MLB episodes today. This week. On Monday we did the wild card preview. No.
yeah,
Monday we did the wild card preview and the predictions. Tuesday we did the ALDS and NLDS, AL wild card and the ALDS preview.
We didn't do anything on Tuesday.
Oh no, you're right. Wednesday we did the AL wild card and ALDS preview, and yesterday we did the NL wild card and the NLDS preview. So that's 4 episodes in 1 week. That's why we don't have an MLB opinions of the week video
or an NHL opinions of the week, because this is our NHL.
This is our NHL opinions of the week.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you for listening. We appreciate all the love, and make sure to follow us on Twitter to find whenever we tweet stuff, we do the links and stuff. So thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.